Hey folks, Mike here today with some thoughts here on Satisfactory. This is a factory building game. As you can see in the top left corner, it is still in early access. As far as I remember, and I might be incorrect here, but this game's been available on Steam for about a year now. It was on Epic Games Store for about 2 years, since it was Epic exclusive for a while. And yeah, I've put in a lot of time in this game. Over 185 hours in total. This is kind of my third map file, and as you can see, there's a decent amount of stuff going on, and seeing as we're in December, they have their holiday event as well, so that's why you'll see random gifts and stuff just kind of hanging around all over the place, though we don't have any at the moment. We'll probably see some fall down. So this is kind of what the end game vaguely looks like, at least for me. I've unlocked everything that's currently available. There's a couple more tiers of stuff. I'm just gonna go on top of that ramp over there to give you guys a bit more of a overview of this factory of mine, and we'll go through kind of the basics and give you an idea of some of the stuff you're going to be dealing with, because at this point, because I've got all the tech and I've got all the new buildings and everything, you know, I can produce anything and everything currently in the game. I can do some pretty efficient stuff, so that's kind of what I'm doing over there on the left. I'm basically overhauling the mess of buildings on the right into something a little bit more structured and fancy and efficient on the left over there. So, you know, a lot of like these other clusters of buildings will slowly disappear, and so we'll kind of go over that. But yeah, just to kind of go through the basic overview, you know, you have resource nodes, like there's coal, some more coal. Over there we've got copper, I believe, or iron. Yeah, iron actually, not copper. So you have these basic resource nodes scattered throughout the map. You can scan for them when you start the game. You only have to worry about, you know, iron, copper, and ore, or limestone. Iron ore, copper ore, and limestone. So you can scan for them. You'll see there's all sorts of different nodes on the map. You can also bring up the actual map. And yeah, you'll build basic miners, you'll start building belts, and then you'll put them into basic construction buildings, or not foundries but smelters. This is a foundry because we're making steel out of coal and iron. This is slightly higher level stuff, but for the most part, that's kind of the basic idea of what you'll be doing, right? You'll be mining ore, smelting it into ingots that are usable in construction buildings. You'll very quickly build the space elevator here, which is what you use to do technological tier upgrades, this is the basic hub building that you start the game with. And so yeah, right, you start with portable miners, and so you're manually going in and mining resources, and then you start automating a little bit as you move forwards. And so there's a bunch of tiers. Currently tier 8, there's nothing for tier 8 in the game. I'm at tier 7, where I've got aluminum production and nuclear power, which is currently the highest tier. Now, this is a holiday event. Some of the things that they give in holiday events, like this super precision oscillator, are things I can't even build yet. So I imagine this holiday event might be... I'm trying to find 22 in the picture, because we're the 22nd today. There it is. What do we get? We get more holiday event Fixmas ornaments, which I'll just trash because I don't need. I've already completed all of the... Actually, we'll go up there. I'll show you guys the mess of stuff that happens. Yeah, that's why we have, you know, various things around. I'll show you the mess over there as well afterwards. But yeah, they added this little holiday stuff. You know, we've got these trees that make presents, which I've then thrown into a bunch of different buildings here to build all sorts of stuff. And then we've got, yeah, more mess. I'm just going to stand still for the autosave, because the game always hitches a little bit when it autosaves, which is expected. With the amount of buildings and things going on, it does have to pause the simulation, so that's totally expected. But yeah, with all of that out of the way, we'll just go do a quick visit so you can kind of get an idea of what a late game looks like. But like I said earlier on, you first start with only a couple different ores, so the game really allows you to slowly build up, right? And so that's ultimately kind of what happens here. I've got new tech, so I've got all these storage containers, each with a specific item or resource, and then it's like, hey, I can build these turbo motors that allow me to get the current highest level miner, so I can do some pretty efficient stuff that way. Why did this suddenly stop? Oh, it was at the end of the production, that's why it stopped. So yeah, because I wanted to build those motors, I can build the higher level miners because I recently unlocked them. You can basically see the mess of stuff where, you know, you've got rubber that has to go to this building and that building and that building, that building over there. So we've got all this mess of stuff, kind of temporary patch in to get some production going. Now I want a couple of them in stock, and then the rest of them are being trashed for points which we can use to buy other unlocks. So yeah, this is kind of my original factory. You can see that, you know, at least here there's some nice organization going on, where we had a bunch of buildings all kind of in a nice line, all feeding this building specifically to be able to build rotors at, you know, maximum speed. Similarly, this building here, reinforced iron plates, I believe. Yeah, I could see them coming out. You know, this building was designed to have the right amount of screws coming in and the right amount of plates to be able to build the reinforced iron plates at the correct speed. So, you know, I did have these strips of buildings lined up to build at the correct speed at one point. However, as you can see further in, as I unlocked more and more buildings and different technologies, I started patching in extra structures, and it very quickly got out of control and lost a lot of the nice organization I had made. Which, that's kind of the story of this game, really. You'll be able, you know, I originally started this map in such a way that I had predicted that, because my previous map I had gone a different route with how I wanted to structure stuff. Despite preparing for that, it didn't work out. You know, the idea was pretty good, but there are considerable changes that come over time. And one of them is the fact that redoing the belts for higher speed or more quantities per minute, that changes a lot of things. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We'll be doing a little bit of construction I'll be swapping out. I'll be swapping out this iron here. So I'll take that out. And I'll start taking some of these pieces out. So I'll show you some of the basics. So this was kind of a proof of concept that I started doing here. And just to give you a better understanding of what I'm about to do. It's a lookout tower. So my original plan was to have all of the raw ores coming in, because this is effectively what allows me to build anything in the game. And by having all the buildings lined up, the early tech ones nearby, going into each container, as you can see the 90 degrees. And then as we get into more and more complex structures, I have more room to grow, so then I can go into the further containers. Now this setup works wonderfully, but one of the things I realize is I have a lot of smelters. Now the thing is, I can do a little bit like I've done here, and just pre-process the resource, and then put the processed resource on the belt. And so instead of having iron ore going across this belt and having to smelt it, we will be adding in some smelters independently, and then feeding the belt with the maximum speed possible for our iron ore production. So I just need to double check, and by double checking we'll get to see how kind of everything works. I'll point out there's also liquids as well, so there's like oil and all sorts of oil, water, fuel. I've got fuel in some of these pipes. 480 per minute. Okay. Yeah, oil. I think that's about what I use at the very least. So I've got, this is a fuel pipe, this is an oil pipe. You can tell by the middle color. You can look at the stats, what the flow rate is, how much it supports. Oh yes, we also have the heavy oil residue from production of oil-based things. Why's production completely stopped? Oh, production is completely stopped because, right. Oop. Anyways, we'll get into that later. In case you're wondering as well, you'll see like a lot of stuttering and performance hitches here and there. This isn't a problem for the majority of the game. However, when you start getting into really late game stuff like I have, that's where the performance starts becoming, I wouldn't say a problem. You do notice that the performance is decreasing. You do notice the performance degradation, but I've personally not found it to be that problematic. Mostly because it's not like a competitive shooter or anything like that, right? I don't mind the performance. I will say that it's significantly better than older versions. They've been doing a lot of work to improve it, and yeah, I don't mind it. I expect some of the stuttering to happen, especially with the sheer amount of stuff going on. If I spaced out some of these things, it'd probably be a lot better, but I'm putting everything together in one area. Yeah, I guess that's kind of the strategy, right? Instead of lining up all these buildings to make the ingots in the same area that I'm going to be using them to produce stuff, I could have made all the ingots over there where the miner is. Now the catch here is that if I want to be making steel, for instance, which we probably will, I'll take advantage of the conveyor belt, the line up here, and actually make steel out of it at the same time. So that way we have one belt going down the center, feeding a bunch of smelters on one side and a bunch of foundries like we had over there for steel on the other side. So I get to take advantage of some efficiency here and just split the belt down the middle. Because the reality is that I won't need full production speed of either one, but I'll prepare for it. So inevitably, once we back up, kind of like this here, right? All the concrete bags. Well, we're backed up. We've got a little buffer on either end of this building. So if I need to, for whatever reason, build a bunch of something real quick, or for instance, I'm now running out of concrete, so I walk into here, grab a couple concrete bags. As you see, that buffer or that storage bin is filling up pretty quick. So as I need some of these resources to manually build stuff, they'll get replenished pretty quickly. Now this rock here might be a problem actually for my idea, but we should be fine. So yeah, it's a lot of work, I suppose, depending how you want to look at it. To me, I find it pretty satisfying, hence Satisfying Factory. That's kind of what the name implies. You know, it takes a certain kind of person to enjoy that kind of stuff. I am definitely one of those kinds of people. I enjoy these kinds of games a lot. I find them very pleasant and enjoyable. It's not for everyone, you know. It is kind of work-like in a lot of ways, but I do enjoy all the planning and all the strategy that kind of comes into play. So, you know, it is what it is. It's not for everyone, but I could definitely say it is for me. So what I'm looking at here is 10 of these would give me 300. So I need 16 of these in line if I wanted to do full speed production. And I need 11 of these on the other end. And we have space for... we don't have space to do all of them here. Actually, I want to double check. That's right, the foundries are bigger. So we definitely want to take advantage of this new space that I made. And coal comes up there. Right, so yeah, we should be fine. This should come down this way. I'm just trying to organize here how I want to go about this. Oh, we don't need these crystals just yet. So I'll finish that floor. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing to plan for. Running out of space is very much a problem you run into, or at least running out of space in whatever area you've defined. That's one of the things I find maybe a little strange. The game does have different maps or different... it sounds like different maps at first, but in reality the whole game is on the same map. What you're actually choosing is different starting areas. So you can choose different starting areas, and yeah, they're all more or less the same. I'm just looking at how... Yeah, I have plenty of room if I do this. Okay. So I need 11 of these. Ugh. So I need 8 of them. So now I have a nice list of what I need. Of course, scrapping buildings gives you all the money back, or all the resources back, so scrapping stuff is not... there's no loss to it. So they encourage you to build, take down, rebuild, you know, that kind of stuff. They definitely encourage it, which is great. It'd be a pain in the butt if they didn't. I'll point out one of the advantages too of this kind of setup that I'm doing, as we autosave here. One of the things you'll see is the way I've done it down here is I have smart splitters. So I'm carrying a lot of multiple resources and I'm intelligently splitting them into their own containers. And so we have a lot of runoff once the containers are full going into this awesome sink, which is it generates points, coupons. The coupons, you can use them for other things. There's other buildings and unlocks and stuff, like some of these ramps were part of... oh yeah, I used to have a hole there to get back up. Yeah, some of those points are used to unlock other structures and whatnot. They're not critical for the game, but they are handy to have, so, you know, I do make use of them sometimes. 1, 2, 3. You'll see as I build these buildings, the counter will go down. So this is also a nice way for me to keep track of stuff. Yeah, I think overall they've done a pretty good job with this. You know, I like what there is. I like the variety. They give you a bit of a reason to keep improving, even though you've kind of reached the end of the line. Right, there's little sort of prizes slash trophies you can build once you have enough points from just sinking resources. Is it really that useful to have? Not really, but you know, it still gives you a reason to at least keep going for a little bit. Oh man, this sucks. Lining this up. I could line it with the center, and I think the belt will be fine. No, I need more space. We'll take the space. Because what I'm trying to achieve here is... that might be okay. And then I put the splitters... so I can feed one resource there, one resource there, and one resource there. Yeah, that works. Excellent. That's what I wanted to know. Let's build another line up here. So this is where I'm going to run out of room, which is okay. I also need 16 of these, so I actually need almost double. So I could potentially... I could put a splitter down the middle and just stack them up. That might be what I'll do. So I'll actually keep them all in line like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, right, it's lining up with the other buildings over there. 7, 8, of 15 and 16. So despite this rock being in the way, we wind up finishing at the same spot. Excellent. So yeah, you can very quickly see how things start getting out of hand. It is what it is. You know, like I said before, you start unlocking a lot of different things, and so it doesn't take very long. Oh, this... Will this work? This should work. Yeah, this will work. That's not a problem. Okay. Just gotta make sure. Because I'm gonna ultimately be double stacking these belts, so... I need the normal splitters. And let's keep going. Yeah, ultimately it's all about getting that super efficient factory going, which I really, really like doing. It can be frustrating. It can definitely be frustrating if you're, you know, the way I build the factories, I like to keep things really compact, which is a bad idea. I really should stop doing that, but I haven't stopped doing it yet. And so it leads to me running out of space, kind of like over there. I ran out of space to grow and do it correctly. So with this new... This is more or less the same idea over here, except I am going about it a little bit differently, and I don't think I'll run into the same problem. It's going to be a little awkward. Every skip one. Oh, see? That doesn't work. Good enough. Won't be the most aesthetically pleasing, but it'll be hella functional, and that's what counts at the end of the day. So we have to feed these belts. I'm feeding them maximum speed. We have too much production, right? Each of these sides can fully saturate the resources here, so I do have too much production happening because of that. But like I said before, that's fine, because we're going to need a mixed amount of resources anyways, so it's not like I'll need full production of everything. And then I will do the same with coal. We'll get the coal. Oh, we're gonna just make it perfect. And now I have to do the part 2, which is feeding each of these buildings. And then we have to do power and feed electricity to all these buildings as well. That's kind of satisfactory in a nutshell. This is what high-level factories look like, but it's just an evolution of the base game, right? You will start with 1 or 2 smelters, and then you'll gradually build up to a big complex factory with multiple smelters, multiple buildings. The complexity comes in, like I kind of talked about it earlier, but the complexity comes in when you start building like really high level devices. Those devices have pretty crazy requirements. You know, I can go through like 15 different stages of or 50 to get one end product. You can go through, you know, 15, 20 different buildings to get one product. So for instance, the turbo motors that you saw over there, well, you know, this plastic comes from, I gotta pump oil and then process oil, and that makes the plastic. Oh, actually, sorry, the rubber. These aluminum sheets, I gotta pump, or I gotta mine bauxite, and that's gotta go through three different buildings to make these sheets. Both of those have to go through this to feed one of 4 feeds of this building. The other one happens to be rubber as well. You can see different recipes I have here as well. So to make the computers, again, multiple steps. Some of them are easy resources, but a lot of them are multi-step, like the electronics board. Same with the crystal oscillator. A lot of these are multi-step. And then all of that to produce this radio control unit, which then goes into here to make the turbo motor. Again, the motor itself is a multi-step. The heat sink, well, we made heat sinks over there as well. We also need heat sinks for this. So you can see how something like that can take, you know, multiple steps. Even for nuclear power, like I have over here, you know, the raw uranium has to go through multiple steps to be encased and ready for the plant to work. So complicated stuff. Yeah, at the end of the day, it all works out. It's all about planning and doing things in a smart way. And so that's kind of what I'm doing here with this new arrangement. I'm going to try and full speed produce some of the higher level stuff like the turbo motors, because that ultimately I can sync that to get points, and that's kind of where, you know, despite reaching the end game, I could still keep playing and doing a lot of stuff and improve on the factory, because by the time the next updates come out with higher level and higher tier stuff, well, I'll have a very efficient factory and I'll be able to grab any resource I want off the shelf, and I'll have every resource I need kind of stacked on these shelves, ready to build another production line for whatever the new stuff is once it comes in. But anyways, we'll end it here. That's kind of Satisfactory in a nutshell. The only thing I'm really missing at this point out of this production line to get it going is to wire in power to all these buildings, and then wire in mergers, so then I can have output belts going back up to this rack and feeding the next stage of buildings. But like I said, this is really high level stuff, but fundamentally it's just a lot more of the stuff you'll be doing at the beginning. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.